All right, so it's no surprise that data is incredibly important. Collecting data, using data, analyzing data are all incredibly important. It doesn't change the fact that there are a lot of issues with regards to data privacy, data collection, and how much data companies should be able to collect and use. But ultimately, it does help with our everyday lives. It helps doctors prescribe the right medication. It helps the government distribute the vaccine for the pandemic to people who need it the most first. And it helps regular everyday people like you and I make more informed, more accurate decisions about our everyday lives. And that's exactly where Palantir comes into place. Palantir is at the center of this rapidly growing industry. This industry is never gonna go away, and it's only gonna get bigger. Wall Street, they are very divided on this stock. You either love Palantir or you hate it. There's really no in between for it. But just recently, a major announcement came out from the Pentagon that they canceled a massive $10 billion contract that they had with Microsoft after Microsoft and Amazon had been arguing over this contract for years. And this is called the JEDI contract. JEDI stands for Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure. This contract was under the Department of Defense, and they just canceled this. And this can open the door for Palantir to secure billions of dollars in new contracts from the government, and this could help propel the stock price even higher over the next couple months and next couple of years. So in today's video, we're going to go over exactly what is going on with current numbers for Palantir. After that, we're going to talk a little bit about this massive government contract that was just canceled, how it just swung the door wide open for Palantir to generate billions of dollars more in revenue. And at the end, we're going to talk about projections, what major funds are saying about Palantir, and what I personally think about all of this stuff going on, where I see it going, and if I'm invested in it or if I'm not invested in it, and just what my positions are right now. So if you guys enjoy this sort of content, well then please be sure to like the video. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. And if you don't already have the public.com investing app, make sure to go ahead and follow me on that. You can buy stocks, sell stocks, and see exactly what I'm buying and selling in real time, as well as a full portfolio breakdown. Think of it like an investing app combined with social media. It is completely free to follow me. Use the code Michael when you sign up, and you'll get up to $50 in a free stock. But anyways, let's start off by talking about a couple of key numbers and key information on Palantir before we get into the major announcement from the Pentagon, how they canceled a contract with Microsoft, and how that could open the door up for Palantir, causing their stock price to propel even higher. So first of all, Palantir is a software data-driven analytics company. They have two main softwares called Foundry, Gotham. They also have another one, but those are the two main softwares they have. Right now, a lot of people on Wall Street either love Palantir or they hate it. There's really no in between. You see so many bullish predictions on Palantir saying it could reach a $1 trillion market cap within the next 5 to 10 years, or other people saying that it's completely overvalued, that it's worthless. But ultimately right now, Palantir has been growing very rapidly. And one of the concerns with them has been that they have a lot of government contracts. I don't think that's a worry at all. I think having business with the government is a stamp of approval saying the government trusts us to do business with them. They trust us to handle their data. And even on top secret projects, we are trusted, and we are a trusted company to do business. So I think there's nothing wrong with that. But right now, Palantir, in terms of a couple of key numbers, they had $341 million in revenue in the first quarter of 2021. They grew 48.7% year over year, and their adjusted operating margin was 34%, which was significantly higher than their guidance, which was 23%. In addition to this, for Q2 of 2021, Palantir expects a massive $360 million in revenue with an adjusted margin of 23%, similar to what they projected in the first quarter, but I think we'll see that adjusted operating margin a little bit higher. In addition to this, with regards to commercial and government contracts, those two different portions of their revenue. Government revenue makes up a majority of their business, and it rose by about 76% year over year in Q1 of 2021. In addition to this, people always say Palantir doesn't have enough commercial business. They don't do enough. Their commercial business grew 72% as well. So for any analysts who are saying Palantir relies too much on government contracts, I would say two things. First of all, there's nothing wrong with doing business with special ops organizations in the government, with organizations all across the government, because that's a stamp of approval for any other business in the entire world saying, look, The government, the US government, trusts Palantir to work on secret projects, top secret projects. They trust them to work with some of the most sensitive information that they have. I think that's a great thing. In addition to this, the other thing I would say is that once you have government contracts, usually the government isn't going to start switching who's going to be handling their data. If Palantir, which they are, gets heavily integrated with the government, it's very easy for them to just continuing to pick Palantir for new contracts, new projects they have in the future. So I think Palantir government contracts is great for those two reasons. And also the third is that it's not like they don't have a commercial business. Their commercial business has been growing very rapidly. When we look at Palantir and we look at the news over the last, let's say, 6 months, they've been securing deal after deal after deal. They had a major deal with Grupo Global, which is a media empire in Latin America. They also had a major deal with Data Robot. That is with supply chain and logistics and, shipping. That has nothing to do with the government. So those are two major contracts that have nothing to do with the government. Recently, they've also had a contract with the Federal Aviation Administration. They had a $7.4 million contract with the CDC, another $111 million contract with Special Ops, and just contract after contract after contract they have been signing over the last couple of months, and things are looking very good for the company. Their growth is not slowing down. Actually, it's picking up a lot of speed. And right now, there's a lot to like about Palantir. So let's get on to the major news that came out recently, what I think could be a key catalyst to cause Palantir stock price to rise even further. And that is with regards to the Pentagon. So the Pentagon recently canceled a $10 billion contract. It was called Jedi Cloud contract. They had initially given this contract to Microsoft. But soon after, a month after they gave the contract to Microsoft back in 2019, Amazon sued them and essentially said that the contract was awarded to Microsoft not because of the proposal or because of what Microsoft does, but simply because the White House, former President Donald Trump, didn't like Amazon and their CEO, Jeff Bezos. The Pentagon came out and said, look, that's not the case at all, but still, as a result of this, since 2019, none of this software, none of this contract has actually been able to be implemented. And so instead of just going with Microsoft or going with Amazon, all of this over the last 2 years, this back and forth, all of the lawsuits between Amazon and the government, all of this has caused them to just cancel the contract entirely. This $10 billion contract was simply just canceled. And what they said is that, look, now we have a couple of new things on our agenda that we want to accomplish that weren't in this Jedi contract. So it's interesting to see that. And one thing that Pentagon said is that this initial contract was supposed to was intended to modernize the Pentagon's IT operations for services rendered over as many as 10 years. And essentially what it was supposed to do is they were supposed to bring all of these government organizations, all the data under one roof, one company, and so they just canceled it. Now the Pentagon said its cloud vendor for the new contract will have to meet several criteria, like working on all three classification levels, i.e. unclassified, secret, or top secret. They're gonna have to be available around the world and have top tier cybersecurity controls. First of all, we all know Palantir fits directly into that because they already work with top secret projects with the government, and unclassified projects as well. They work with all three levels already with the government. In addition to this, the Pentagon said it expects the new contract value to be in the multi-billions. We don't know the maximum value yet. They expect the contract to last up to 5 years, including a 3-year performance-based period and a 2 1-year option periods. So that's what's going on with the contract. The Jedi contract, which stands for Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure, has officially been canceled. Microsoft no longer is the only one going to be under this contract. Instead of using Microsoft or Amazon, they said, now we're going to do a multi-vendor approach. They're splitting it up. A bunch of different parts are going to go to a bunch of different software companies. So, maybe some will go to Microsoft, some will go to AWS, maybe some will go to Palantir, and that's how they decided to do this. So that's the background on this contract, this cancellation with the Pentagon. But how does this actually impact Palantir stock? So previously, with this contract, Palantir was not involved at all. AWS was not involved at all. It was only going to be all $10 billion going to Microsoft. Now that they're dividing this up and making it a multi-vendor approach, this is actually going to help out Palantir, because according to the Department of Defense, they said that any company that does business with them under this new contract is going to have to be able to work under all three classification levels: unclassified, secret, and top secret. Palantir already does that. So, for example, it makes them higher up candidate in sense that they've already been approved to do business with all levels of the government. That is a really positive thing. I think that could help Palantir secure at least a portion of these contracts. In addition to this, what they're trying to do with this new contract is attempting to bring thousands of Department of Defense systems under one umbrella. And the thing about this is Palantir already works with the United States Air Force. They work with the Department of Defense, the United States Army, the United States Navy, United States Special Operations Forces, United States Coastal Guard, and many more. They also work with the Department of Energy. Palantir works with so many aspects of the government that they already have a lot of business with a number of government organizations. And if the Department of Defense, their goal is to bring everything under one umbrella, one system, Palantir already has a pretty big head start, a pretty big competitive advantage to other companies, in the sense that they already do business with so many specific government organizations that it would make it seem like Palantir is the ideal candidate for at least some of these contracts that they're going to be looking to sign with this multi-vendor approach they're looking at. Moving on, the other thing I want to talk about is what is going on with Palantir. So in the last 3 months, in Q2 of 2021, Palantir signed 16 additional government contracts worth $91.4 million in current contractual obligations and $202 million in total value of the contracts. All of this, in my opinion, is a clear sign that the government is going to go with Palantir for at least some of this. We don't know exactly how much it's going to be, but previously it was $10 billion. Let's say it's $10 billion now. Now that they broke that $10 billion up into a bunch of different vendors, they're not just going to go with Microsoft, they're not just going to go with AWS. I think all of this is going to generate at least hundreds of millions of dollars, if not a couple $billion in revenue for Palantir, because Palantir seems like a sure pick for me. They already have they've already done work with all the classification levels in the government. They already have dozens of government contracts. They already have the necessary approvals to do work with the government. And ultimately, I think that the US government isn't going to want to pick so many new companies to do work with. They already trust Palantir. They already trust Microsoft. They trust AWS. So I think those could be some of the three top companies that they would go with. I don't see them picking new companies to handle sensitive information, sensitive data. I only really see them going with companies they know and trust, and Palantir falls right into that. And finally, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Palantir's stock price and where analysts see it going. So right now, according to all analyst estimates, if we comprise that into one chart, many of them are predicting that we're going to go from a $1.5 billion top line revenue in 2021 to around $12.4 billion in 2030. This is assuming about a 10 to 15% year over year revenue growth. And if we bring that out to 2031, so 10 years from now, that would bring us to $14 billion in revenue. It's just a chart that comprises all of analyst expectations. That's the average between 10 and 15% year over year growth. In addition to this, the one thing to keep in mind is that right now, a company, let's say like Microsoft, which is growing at about 19% year over year, has about a 13x valuation in terms of its revenue. So if we put Palantir at the same valuation as that would put Palantir by 2031 at $170 billion valuation. Right now, at around a $40 billion valuation, that would mean in 2031, in the next 10 years, Palantir's stock price would at least 4x. And I think this is very conservative, because right now, saying that Palantir is going to grow between 10 and 15% a year is really on the low end, considering how much they are currently growing at. Right now, they're growing between 25 and 40% year over year, and I don't see this slowing down anytime soon, especially with how important data is with the government, these new government contracts that they're signing, and all it really takes is a couple of these big government contracts to push Palantir from a $1.5 billion a year revenue company to a $5 billion revenue per year company. So I see them really Conservative analysts are saying that Palantir could reach $170 billion market cap by 2031. So in the next 10 years, it could 4x. I think that is very conservative. And one thing with regards to a major fund, Guardian Fund, which has over $20 billion in assets under management, they recently came out and said, they wrote a whole report on Palantir saying how Palantir has been game changer, been instrumental in distributing vaccines during the pandemic. They've been instrumental in helping the public sector, helping government organizations analyze their data, use data, and make better decisions about what to do next. And ultimately what they said is that Palantir and data analytics is not going to go away anytime soon. They said right now, many hedge funds believe in Palantir. Over 32 hedge fund portfolios have Palantir in their list of stocks right now, and they see this only increasing in the future. In addition to this, the other thing they said is that Palantir has become a significant investor over the last 12 to 18 months. Right now, they have over $200 million invested in 8 companies like Tencent, Alphabet, Shopify, and a couple more. So they said Palantir has become a major investor. They're getting integrated into a number of companies in a number of government organizations, and they don't see them slowing down anytime soon. So that's what's going on with Palantir. I wanted to give you an update on that contract, how it was canceled. Microsoft lost the deal, but this opens the door wide open for Palantir. Let me know what you guys think. I just think Palantir seems like a perfect fit for at least some of this revenue from that $10 billion contract that's now been broken apart, canceled, and is going to be split in a multi-vendor approach. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.